Who else?
And he's in mommy's.
Is everybody self-quarantining now or not?
Liner's been coughing since the day he was born.
Why don't you say it's a good thing you have him around you.
Yeah.
No, right now.
Oh, the wet cough. I have a wet cough also.
No, it's not.
And you want to know why I'm not on the live show anymore. That's why.
The whole North Woodmere is in quarantine 14 days.
All right, so let's chazer. Tonight's probably the most, I believe, is one of the most fascinating blots that we've ever had so far. So let's try and get to it. The chazer from yesterday.
I feel like these last two daf are more brachas.
Yes, they are. We said that.
Okay.
Not you said that. We said that. Shul should be at the highest building. That was Daf Yomi from Aleph. Then who to work for. Then which sicknesses are better. Then praise for the government. And fasting because of a bad dream, even on Shabbos, and then stop learning in order to daven. Then the Mishnah says that you can't go out. What did I here, Mr. You can't go out on erev Shabbos.
Huh?
Rules of the trade.
Taylor has it.
Then no reading to the light of a candle. Parrots, you're not muted, Parrots.
Sorry, I'm just walking into my house. Sorry.
Am I the only one that can't see Reb Tzvi Yaakov?
No, I am, just because I'm reading off my notes.
Gotcha.
I'm coming back in a second. Sorry. A person shouldn't stand on one property and drink on another property. Right, that was the beginning of the Gemara. And then I'm a base. The Machlokes, if the halacha applies to Carmelis, attempts to prove that we don't make a gzeira on the gzeira, right? By Haitzah, that's Abaya and Rava. Machlokes, if the normal way for the tradesman to carry is considered carrying. Excuse me, Parrots, you guys are making noise from your house and this house. Carrying protection for a zov.
Round sound.
Anyways, yeah, but don't worry, my kids too over here.
Oh yeah, they're a little hyper right now.
Okay, so that's where we left off on the bottom of Yud Aleph Amud Beis, talking about whether somebody wears something for protection, is that considered like carrying or not?
Moshe, don't.
Right?
No, come here. Please, 2 cups.
Where should we pick it up?
Is a gun considered protection or a tachshit?
A what?
A gun.
A gun?
Yeah.
I think we're on the bottom of Yud Aleph Amud Beis.
Yeah, we are. We're on the bottom. We're just not sure where to pick it up. A gun.
The second narrow line, second to bottom.
Yeah, thank you. Reb Shlomo Zalman says that a gun you're allowed to use even if it's just there to strike fear into anybody that sees it. I think that's what Shmir Shabbos Kolchasa says.
Daven Shabbos once in Efrat, I was completely in fear.
You were in fear.
If you're going to carry a gun.
Everyone was walking around with guns, big guns, small guns, little guns. I was the only one. I could have been ambushed with my black hat.
There you go.
If you're going to use, you got to deal with the consequences. It's a lot worse than being Michal Shabbos.
What do you mean? It's a lot worse than what?
Ready to pull the trigger. You know, that's much bigger fish to fry than Michal Shabbos.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Fair point. Anyways,
You're almost at the bottom of the daf.
Right, so Amar Rav Zera. Amar Rav Zera. Hi, Tanahu da Amar. Call it, so it's really in the middle of a.
I think we were 2 lines up from there.
No, but we were discussing why it is that a Zav who was already a Zav for 3 days, so why is it not he does need to carry it, so he goes when it's 7 clean days, he needs to be able to see whether he has any discharge. Right? So we asked, but he still needs it in order that his clothing doesn't get destroyed, right? Third 3 lines up. Doesn't he need it? Said his kalim shouldn't get dirty. So it's this Tana who says, if you use something as protection, that you shouldn't get dirty. Tinov means dirty. So if it's to save you from being dirty, then that's not considered carrying, which, by the way, we don't paskin. So now we get back to Tuma and Tara here for a few minutes. If you remember from previous Gemaras, that in order to make a fruit tamei, it has to first get wet. The fruit has to get wet, but you have to want the fruit to get wet with water that you want, right? So what happens if somebody takes his kalim and he puts it under a leak in the house, and the only reason why those kalim, the water accumulates in the kli, is not because he wants that water to accumulate, but he wants that kli to protect, let's say, his carpeting, right? Sometimes you have leaking dehumidifiers or whatever, air conditioners. So you put something on there. So is that considered like that water? You want that water or not? So the Gemara is going to first try and compare that to this case of putting this cup under a man so that he doesn't get his clothing dirty. If somebody turns over a plate on a kosher. So now why do you do that? Why do you put it on the wall? Because he wants to protect the wall from rain. If the reason why you put the pot on the wall is so that it should get washed, so then that's considered chiyutan, meaning if you put water on. So therefore, he wants it there. Since he wanted the rain to wash his kli, so it's considered like he wanted that water. But if the reason why he turned over that plate and put it on the wall is so that the kosher shouldn't get destroyed, then that water is not going to be considered chashuv to make something tamei, because he didn't want the water. The reason why he wanted that plate to get wet was just so he protects his wall or carpet or whatever most you want to do. So therefore we want to say, so you see that if a person just putting something there so it protects something else, then we look at it as if it's nothing. So we want to say the same thing by the zav putting this kiss on his clothing so that he doesn't get dirty would be the same thing. So Gemara says no, it's not true. Mitami. Is it comparable? Hasam over there, he didn't need the water at all. He didn't want this water. He would be very happy if it didn't rain. It's raining, so he puts the plate there. Here he wants the kiss there. He wants this pocket or whatever it is, this protection, in order to be makabel the zav, the ziva, right? So what is this case comparable to?
They started by a litten.
Yeah, so what is this comparable to? It's compared to the seifa that erev sheyar delaf l'soicha. So if you have a pot and delaf is dripping of water falls into the pot. Mayim hanitzin ba'nitzin eina b'chiyutan. The water that's, so what happens when water drops into a pot? So the drips makes a splash, and some of the water splashes out of that pot. So mayim hanitzin ba'nitzin eina b'chiyutan. So that's not chiyutan because you didn't want that water to fall out of the pot. But the water that you put the pot there for, that is b'chiyutan, right? Even though the reason why you put the pot there was just to protect whatever's under it, but we say since you had it collecting in the pot, so therefore it's going to be considered the water that you want, and therefore it will have the ability to make something tamei, right? And if that's the case, then the protection that the zav is using would also be a problem because on Shabbos, because he wants that cup that he's using to protect his clothing. So therefore, that teretz is not a good teretz. And now we're back to the original kasha, which is why is he allowed to go out with this protection on Shabbos? And this is the first time we're having one of the most major rules in Hilchos Shabbos that you could possibly have. That both of them say the same teretz, like kasha Reb Yehuda v'Reb Shimon. Again, if you remember from yesterday, the kasha here was that we had a stira and brises. One brisa says that a zav goes out with his protection, he's chayiv chatas, and the other mandomer says you're not allowed to go out with it, but you're not chayiv chatas. So we had a Machlokes, we had a stira. So we're trying to find the answer. So now we're saying both Abaye and Rav agree that the way to answer is one is Reb Yehuda and one is Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon holds something called melacha shein צריכה legופה, right? How do you say melacha shein צריכה legופה? Is basically if the melacha that's being done is not being done for the way it was supposed to be done in the Mishkan, then it's a Machlokes Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon whether you're chayiv on that or not. Okay, the classic case.
Where the halacha comes from? This Gemara.
What? this is the first example that we have it in Shabbos, but it's going to be throughout Shabbos, and it's a very, very important. It's a very, very important rule to know, right? And we do paskin melacha shein צריכה לגופה is potter. Yeah, but here, so what's melacha shein צריכה לגופה? The classic example of melacha shein צריכה לגוfa is if somebody, you're not allowed to dig a hole on Shabbos, right? So the reason why you're not allowed to dig a hole on Shabbos is because you need the hole, right? Digging a hole for the sand is not the reason that they made the melacha asur. They made the melacha asur because you wanted the hole to plant, right? So if you dig a hole for the dirt, because you need the dirt, then that's called melacha shein צריכה לגוfa, right? And therefore, that would be a machlokes on whether you're chayiv on that or not. So here too, when you're carrying out this protection, are you carrying out because you want to carry it, or just you want to protect your clothing? So since you're clearly just doing it to protect your clothing, you don't particularly care to carry it outside. Therefore, it's a melacha shein צריכה לגוfa, and that's a machlokes. Okay, so the mandamar that says that you'd be chayiv for it holds melacha shein צריכה לגוfa. You're still chayiv on it. It doesn't help anything. And the brisa that says that a zav could go out with this is that a zav is not chayiv for it is holds melacha shein צריכה לגוfa is potter. Now again, melacha shein צריכה לגוfa doesn't make it mutter. It just downgrades it from a deraisa to a derabbanan. Okay, so that's the first example that we have it, and it's an important rule to know, especially when shasa tchak situations. So when it's a melacha shein צריכה לגוfa, it makes things a lot easier. Okay. Anyway, so that's the answer to the steer and the brisa, whether it's melacha shein צריכה לגוfa or not. Okay, fine. Now that's the hard part of Daven. Now we go to easy. Tani dvei Rabbi Yishmael, not easy, but more interesting. Tani dvei Rabbi Yishmael. Yotza adam b'tefilin b'erev Shabbos and kosher. A person is allowed to go out with his tefillin on erev Shabbos before it gets dark. Now, because we're saying in the Mishnah that you're not allowed to go out with a needle if you're a tailor or whatever it is, right? My time. Since a person is required to always fill his tefillin at every hour, it's a kal v'chomer mitzitz, right? One second, let's pause for a second. So basically, the tailor can't go out with things because we're afraid he's going to forget. So why are we not afraid that you're going to go out with your tefillin on Shabbos? So what I'm saying, no, because tefillin, you're mechuyev to check that you have tefillin on to make sure you don't forget about it and do things that are not proper with your tefillin on. So since you constantly have to check, so then you're going to be checking. You're going to remember, I better take it off before Shabbos, right? How do you know that a person has to check the tefillin at all times? Kal v'chomer mitzitz. We learn it out from the tzitz. The tzitz is what the Kohen Gadol wore on his forehead. Matzitz she'ein bo ela askara achas. The tzitz only says one of Hashem's names. Amra Torah v'haya al mitzchay tamid. It has to be on his forehead constantly, which means that he shouldn't be mesiach das from it, and the kohen can't forget that he has the tzitz on his forehead. Tefillin sheyesh ben askaras harbi, tefillin which has Hashem's name many times. Halachas kama kama, isn't that a kol shekain that a person has to be aware of it on his head at all times. Hilkach mitkar darvelu, therefore he's going to remember about it, and therefore you are allowed to go out with your tefillin. You are allowed to go out with your tefillin on erev Shabbos, right before Shabbos. Fine. Tanya Chananya. Erev Shabbos. A person is mechuyev to feel his begadim erev Shabbos before it gets dark. And Amar Rav Yosef Hilchos Rabasi l'Shabbos. That is a major halacha for Shabbos. That everybody should feel their pockets before they go out. So the person can discuss what happens if you live in an erev. So there's no risk, right? This is talking about in the days that you didn't have erev, so therefore you have to check your pockets to make sure you don't carry anything, right? So it's interesting because it sounds like you're using your same clothing as you are for Shabbos. If you have Shabbos clothing, l'chayra, you don't have to worry about that, right? But the truth is, back then they washed their clothing l'kavod Shabbos. They didn't necessarily have Shabbos clothing. Okay.
I know some Shabbos clothes first thing in the morning, Friday morning.
Oh yeah.
Because he's a doctor, in case he gets a call and he won't have time to get ready.
I hear. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so for him it would be negay.
Yeah, but for Shabbos you also wear your Shabbos clothing, no?
Some do, some don't. Some change right away, and others. But yeah, you're right. So that's yeah. But again, this is another case where erev totally nixed this one. Yeah.
Some of our suits don't fit that well, and as soon as Shabbos is over, we got to get out of there.
I thought you were going to say they're so tight, there's no room to put anything in the pockets.
Yep, that's also true.
Yeah, okay. I know the feeling. Anyways, lo yifala is Caleb, right? So the Mishnah says that a person should not delouse his clothing. Now the Mishnah, that's all the Mishnah says. The question in the Mishnah is that because we're afraid, is it because we're afraid that you're gonna do it to the light, or is it a separate issur? Right, so they asked the Shayla, lo yifalas kelim b'yoyim, a person shouldn't delouse his kelim during the day, shema yarek, because he might end up killing the bugs. When you take the bugs out of the clothing, you may end up killing it. But Rabbi Elazar, and it's going according to Rabbi Elazar, the Tan Yomer Rabbi Elazar, harik kina b'Shabbos kilu harik gamel. If you kill a bug on Shabbos, it's as if you kill a camel, right? V'lo yikra lo araner, and then another different issur, meaning don't delouse your clothing on Shabbos because you might end up killing the bug, which is the same as killing an animal, and you're gonna be chayav for shechita, right? It's a form of shechita, right? V'lo yikra lo araner, and don't read to the light of a candle. Shemayate, perhaps you're gonna lean the candle. That's one way of looking at the Mishnah. Or maybe you can't read and you can't delouse your clothing because you're gonna need good light to see where the bugs are in the clothing, and you're gonna end up tilting the lamp, right? Yeah. So that's the question. Which way do you understand the Mishnah? So Tashema ain't poilin ve'ain karn lara ner. So we have a brisa that says we can't delouse and you can't read lara ner. So Gemara thinks, okay, so the Gemara wants to bring a proof from that it's two separate things. The Gemara says mi alima mimasnisin. That's not any stronger than a Mishnah. That's almost the same terminology as a Mishnah. So that doesn't tell us anything. So Tashema ain't poilin lara ner. So we have another brisa that says you are not allowed to delouse things with a candle, and you can't read to an air. So you see very clearly that the brisa says that the reason why you're not allowed to delouse your clothing is because you are going to do it with a candle, and not because we're afraid that you're going to kill the bugs. Right, so again, you're not allowed to do any of these things to the light of a candle. This is what the halachas that they said in the attic of Hanani ben Chizkiya ben Goren, which we're going to get to. That's the next Mishnah. So we see that both of the things of no reading and no delousing is because you might lean the candle, and therefore you're going to put out the candle, right? So Shmamina, or you're going to light it up. So Shmamina, we hear from this that that's the pshat. Fine. So you're not even to use a candle in order to, let's say you're going to the closet, you're going to try and figure out which clothing is yours and which clothing is your wife. So even to do that, you're not allowed to use a candle for that. That's only said by B'nai Mechuzah where their clothing was similar. But by the B'nai Chaklisa, it's very clear which clothing is different, right? And therefore we're not worried that you're going to need the light, and you're not going to end up tilting the candle. Then the B'nai Mechuzah is not an issue only for. I mean, it is an issue if it's for the elderly, right? But for younger, then you're going to certainly know the difference, and then you would be allowed to use a candle. Okay, fine. You should not delouse your clothing in the public because of covered, because it's disgusting for people to see that you have bugs all through your clothing. You shouldn't do this process that makes you throw up, because that's also disgusting to do that in Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Now, this next Gemara is very interesting because based on this Gemara is a direct refutation to something that science says. And it's used a lot to prove, or not to prove. This is a kasha that scientists have, that our Gemara seemingly is not saying what science believes. Okay, we'll see. Tanaraban, that's just a way to get you to listen, but that is true. Yeah, Tanaraban. Hamapalas Caleb. somebody who is delousing his clothing, Moilel v'zorik, you can roll. Hold on. Yeah, you can roll it in your hands, v'zorik, and then throw it. Meaning you can grab it. You can grab the bug with your hands and throw it. As long as you don't kill the bug. You could take it and actually throw it out. As long as you don't roll it. The halach is that you're allowed to roll it and throw it away, and that's considered your covered, right? And that's even during the week. Yeah. So now Rabba Mekatalu, Rav Sheshes Mekatalu. Rabba, he killed them, even on Shabbos, and Rav Sheshes Mekatalu also on Shabbos. Rabba Shadilu Lakana Damai, and Rabba stuck it into water, and then the water washed it off and or killed it. Yeah. Amarlu Rav Nachman Lebanse, and Rav Nachman told his kids, Katalan Vashminan Lekala de Sanvasi. Kill them, and I will hear the voice of my enemies. Okay? So clearly the Gemara is coming out that you are allowed to kill these bugs on Shabbos. Why are you allowed to kill these bugs on Shabbos? We'll get to it in a minute. Rav Shimon Elazar says that you're not allowed to kill bugs on Shabbos. And Beis Hillel says it's mutter. Now, why should you be able to kill a bug on Shabbos according to Beis Hillel? Now, it doesn't mean a bug. It means dafka these kinim, which is, how do you call it? Lice. Okay? Look at the Rashi. We have to look at this Rashi because it's very important. 4 wide lines down. In Rashi, matirin. Right? Beis Hillel says it's mutter. In the Mefarish time of Perek Shemona Shratim that we say later on, May Elim Adamim the Mishkan. We learn it out from the Elim Adamim in the Mishkan. Ma Elim Parim V'Ravim, an ayil, right, a goat, Parim V'Ravim. It I say Pruravu. It does Pruravu, but it propagates, right? Af kosher procreates. There you go. Thank you. Procreates. Very good word. Of course, only things you're going to be chayav for killing that can procreate. V'kina eina part of erev elami basar adam hisharetzas. A kina does not have children. It's created from the flesh of a person. Okay, that means this is called. What's the word for this in English? Something that created from nothing. It doesn't have parents. Oh, come
Spontaneous combustion or something like that.
Combustion.
Spontaneous something. I forget.
Yes, very good. Spontaneous. Oh, man.
I was going to say it's like a mushroom.
Yeah, something like that. Spontaneous.
Conception. Yeah, isn't that how Yeshua was born?
Immaculate conception.
Not immaculate.
There we go.
That's a form of it.
Same thing. That's not what it means.
We're bringing Yeshua up. Great.
Spontaneous something. Whatever it is. The Gemara here clearly
spontaneous generation.
No, I don't think that's the word either.
That's what Google says.
Yeah. Okay. Spontaneous.
It's like literally what you learn in 5th grade is impossible.
Correct. This is mamish fakert from all of science. And science says anything that's alive has to have parents in some way or shape or form. And this Rashi, based on Beis Hillel, Rashi saying Shana Beis Hillel is that kinim are not created from parents, and therefore they are not. There's no chiyuv for killing them on Shabbos.
They're not created with parents, but they're created from humans.
They're created from the flesh of humans. They grow by themselves.
But it's from a human, so we're the parents.
No, the human is not the parent. The human it has nothing to do with anything reproductive.
Ah, okay.
Right? And this is the way. No, it's a good point. But this is the way we paskin. And they want to bring a raya from this. When this came to the fore was, if you know the worms in the salmon, right? So one was the big shaila was, are the worms born in the salmon or not? If the worms are born in the salmon, then they are mutter to eat, right? So that's whatever. That's part of the issue. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's
why are we making zera atu parim?
Can't hear you clear. What?
Why don't we make it zera atu? Why don't we make it zera atu parim? On the
You mean it's so similar? It's so similar that they should make a gzeira. Yeah, I don't know. And Hanami, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't make a gzeira.
I'm glad you're not my rabbi.
Okay, we don't really.
I don't like rabbis that like to make gzeiras.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, fine. Okay, weiter in Gemara. Okay, the last in line. V'chein hayu Rav Shimon Elazar Mishum Rav Shimon Gamliel. Rav Shimon Elazar says the name of Shimon Gamliel. Ein b'shatkanes atinoikos la'aris. You are not allowed to do shidduchim for children on Shabbos because that's considered doing business on Shabbos. V'loyas atinoik l'lam de sefer or l'lam de omnis, and not a tinoik to teach him a trade. Ve'ein menachem avelim. You're not allowed to do nicham avelim on Shabbos. You're not even allowed to visit the sick on Shabbos. These are the words of Beishamai. Vasila says is mutter, and the reason why Vasila says all these things are mutter is because since they're all l'tzarech shamayim, making the shidduch is ultimately for the religious purposes, so not necessarily for love and romance. So therefore, Vasila says all these things would be mutter to do on Shabbos because they all have a erlich angle to it. Okay. Fine. Are you going to say what about teaching him an umnus? By the way, to earn a living is also considered a mitzvah. Fine. Okay. Zogding more about it. Somebody who goes to be mevakar chayla on Shabbos. Aimer Shabbos he milizok u'refuah kroiv alava. Right. This is what we say by the mishaberos, and that's why you're not supposed to wish refuah shalem on Shabbos. You say Shabbos he milizok. It's Shabbos, and therefore we're not allowed to cry out. So therefore, refuah kroiv alava, and refuah should come. What?
Song of the Daf.
Song of the Daf. There you go. You could say that you're able to be that you can have rachmanas. I mean, if you mechabit Shabbos, that's going to help you have a refuah. Review the Aimer Hamakim Mirachim Melecha V'Choli Yisrael. The Makam should have rachmanas on you, should have pity on you, and on all the cholim of Klal Yisrael. Hashem should have rachmanas on you amongst the rest of Klal Yisrael. Shavna issue Shishlayim b'Knisasei Aimer Shalom, and when he went into the chayla, he would say Shalom. V'Yitziyasei Aimer Shabbos Yimilizak Urufuah Kroiv Alavai. Baracham of Merubin and his pity is alat v'shavtei b'Shalom. And you should rest with peace. Yeah. Who is this like that we said that if somebody has a cholim in your house, you have to daven for him, mix him in with the rest of cholim Yisrael. Kaman Rabbi Yossi. It's like Rabbi Yossi, who Rabbi Yossi says you're supposed to daven b'say cholim Yisrael, which is what we do. Yeah. Now, this Tosfos, this top right Tosfos here is a fascinating Tosfos because he says, according to Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda, they both hold that you get your Gezar Din on Rosh Hashanah during Aseret Yimei Tshuva, and that's it. So then how could you go daven for anything the whole year, right? It's a very yisaidistic question. It's a very basic question you have. If during Aseret Yimei Tshuva is when Hashem decides everything, so what are you davening for stuff for the whole year? Right, there's nothing to daven for. Everything was decided before and during Aseret Yimei Tshuva. Right, so it's a Machlokes in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah. So Tosfos has a very simple teretz. He says the Shabbos that we're talking about right here is Shabbos of Aseret Yimei Tshuva. But in a Chanami and the other Shabbos, you can't daven because it's all done.
Why went during the week you could or Shabbos? So you're not supposed to daven the whole year?
According to that, some opinions, yes. According to some opinions. Yes, but okay, this is a whole hashkafic issue, but it's interesting that that's the Tosfos right over here while we're davening for.
That can be changed?
What? Change? Yeah. No, but Pashtus not. According to those that say the Gzar Din is Rosh Hashanah, it can't be changed. Okay, there's other tirutzim in Rosh Hashanah, but yeah, Naftali Lion is having big issues with this. Yeah. Okay, fine. That's also Negaya nowadays. I mean, this is obviously what's going on now. Was Nigzar Rosh Hashanah. The previous Rosh Hashanah. So what are we crying out for? One of the tirutzim that helps to understand is that yes, that the Gzar Din for the chayla, the chayla is going to happen, was on Rosh Hashanah, but you can daven for a refuah. You don't know if the refuah is also is going to happen. Okay, whatever it is, it's fine. Weiter. With difficulty, they allowed people to be menachem ovel on Shabbos and to be vakar cholim on Shabbos. And nowadays the minhag is not to be menachem ovel on Shabbos. Although the nusach that the Mishnah brings, if one word wanted to be menachem ovel on Shabbos, it would be Shabbos hi milanachem. It's Shabbos, therefore we don't do nacham, and then hamoki menachem eschem. Fine. But the minhag of Klai is not to do that nowadays. Fine. When I went after Rebbe Elazar, to look after people that are sick. Sometimes he would say that Mokum should remember you in peace. The Hashem should remember you for shalom. How do you do this? Right? He used the lashon in Aramaic. So how can a person is not allowed to ask for anything in Aramaic? If you ask for anything in Aramaic, the Malach Yesharis do not listen to it. Shein Malach Yesharis makinu b'lashon Arabic. Malach Yesharis do not recognize Aramaic. So here he davened in Aramaic for the cholim. So shani cholah the Shechina. You may know the difference is by a cholah, the Shechina is resting by a cholah. So therefore the Shechina is right there. So when you're davening next to a cholah, next to somebody who's sick, you don't need malachim to carry the tefillas. The tefillas are going straight up.
Isn't there a tefillah we say in Slichus, which is in Aramaic?
There is some, yeah.
That we say to the malachim also?
No, but that's why some of the tefillas that are in Aramaic, you could say it with a minion, you can't say it by yourself, right?
But why would we say it at all if Malach Yeshar is not makir?
Well, you have Brich Shemei, that's also
right,
but that's not necessarily a tefillah.
No, but there's tefillahs we say by Slichus, no?
We say
some people say. I don't know.
Say. Yes, some people.
No, Machnitze Rachamim is in Hebrew.
Correct.
Oh, no, not Machnitze, but Mate Machse and all that stuff.
Correct, Mate Machse by
Yeah.
What's Mate Machse?
There is a
some
pshat.
People don't say it.
There is a pshat, but it's a little late. So
okay, fine.
No, it's a good question. I think it has something to do with that the minion negates it, because then you don't need the malachim when there's a minion, which is also negated to Bizman Hazeh. Right? Nowadays, why it's so schwer not to have a minion? Because you need the malachim to help you out. Okay, whatever it is. Anyways, the Shechina is with the cholah. How do you know that the Shechina is with the cholah? Hashem is with him on the bed of his sadness, crying, whatever it is. If somebody is going to visit a cholah, should not sit down, not on a bed, and not on a chair. He should wrap himself. You should sit with fear, like wrap yourself in clothing or talis, that because the Shechina is above the head of the cholah. How do you know Hashem himself feeds the cholah? Okay.
Nowadays, you can read the Gemara to mean that you should cover your face so that you don't catch any diseases.
Correct. Okay, I hear that.
I got so many comments, but I'll hold back.
Oh, you're entitled. You can go whichever way you want, but yeah.
Every time they walked in to give me chemo, they were dressed from head to toe in battle gear. they were Makayim the Gemara. Who knew?
Because they wrapped themselves up, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I hear. Now, what does that mean? So anytime you go, does it mean that anytime you go to a cholah, you can't sit down? You got to stand up? So Taisa says that the small Taisa Layeshev says that's only when the cholah is laying lower than you, that you shouldn't sit above the cholah. But if the cholah's bed is higher than you, then you're allowed to sit down. Yeah? Fine. Okay, so now we start with this major sugi here that you're not allowed to read Lara Ner. Even let's say the Ner is 2 flights up, meaning your candle's hanging from the roof. There's no way you can possibly tilt it. Are you allowed to read with that Ner? So Gemara says, even if it's 2 stories high, even if it's 10 houses, one on top of the other, you're not allowed to read. Meaning it's a gezerah across the board and something what we call loy plug. The Chacham did not differentiate and say in this situation yes, this situation not. They just said you're not allowed to do it. That's sort of with the disagreement amongst the Rabbanim whether you can have minyanim outside. It's not about that outside is dangerous. Outside, l'chol deis, if everybody's separated from each other, as far as I know, according to all opinions, 6 feet away from each other, outside is not going to make anybody catch anything. The whole Machlokes amongst the poskim is whether we don't trust the people and we want to make a loy plug because we're afraid people are going to socialize, etc., etc., which is sort of what we're saying over here. So it's a loy plug. They said you're not allowed to read the candles. Don't make a difference how high it is. And it's the gezerah is the gezerah, right? We'll get to that. We'll get back to that in a minute. So the Gemara says, "Chadu deloy likri."
We have you can't do a gezerah onto a gezerah.
Yeah, that's not a gezerah.
Gezerah is not to daven in the minyan inside, because Shemba you'll catch it. Now you want to add a gezerah on top of that?
Yeah, no, but the whole gezerah. That's one. What we're going to say is that the gezerah is that there should be no minyanim. It's one gezerah, regardless of where it goes.
I hear. So if you have 10 people that all have coronavirus, then now let it daven in the minyan.
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Nobody's asked me that one yet.
Low plug.
I don't know. It's a low plug. Okay, I hear. All right. It says Chadu deloy likri hatrei shaper dami. It's mashma that only one person is not allowed to read. But if it's 2 people that are allowed to read, Vatani lo yechad v'lo shnayim, we have a brayz that says no, not one person, not 2 people. One is talking about where they're both looking at the same inyan, and one is talking about with the shnei inyanim. So if it's one inyan, so therefore they're going to remind each other, and therefore they'd be allowed to read shnei inyanim, meaning you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. We're totally focused on our own thing. We're not going to notice if our friend goes to lean in and tilt candle, so we won't be able to remind him. And if it's a torch, then even if it's 10 people reading, it's going to be asur, because it gives us so much light. People are just you're not going to realize anything. Amar Rava, im adam chashuv hu mutter. This is an important line. If you're an adam chashuv, then it's mutter. Why? Because if you're adam chashuv, so you have your butler or your helpers. Anytime you have a problem with the light, you're not going to go fix it. You're going to ask your people that are there for you, to, your cleaning lady or your help, whatever it is. So therefore, there's no chashash that you ever even know how to tilt the lamp. So if you're adam chashuv, you'd be allowed to do it. Which some people can say nowadays, is this gezerah even apply? So some want to say maybe it doesn't apply nowadays because we're considered like adam chashuv because we never ever tilt lamps. We don't even have anything to do with these candles. We'll get to the electric light maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Okay, meisvei. You're not allowed. We have a kasha. You're not allowed to read to the light of a candle because perhaps you're going to lean it, right, and tilt it. Amar Yishmael ben Elisha, ani ekrev v'lo ata. I can read, and I'm not going to lean it. Pamachas karo bikesh lahatas. And one time it happened, and he wanted to tilt it. And he caught himself. Amar kama gedalim divrei chachamim shoyuarim leikra la'araner. How great are the words of the chachamim? Because they said you shouldn't read to the araner. Meaning he had thought that that the gezerah doesn't apply to him, and then he realized that it applies to him. Rav Nasan he has a different version of the story. Rav Nasan saying that he did read and he ended up leaning the lamp. Because of Alpin Kasai, meaning so he did something wrong, and he wrote on his notebook, Ani Yishmael ben Elisha, Karisiv Atisi Ner Shabbos. I tilted a candle. I read, and then I tilted the candle on Shabbos. And therefore, I did something wrong. So he wrote in his notebook that when the Beis Hamikdash is built, then I'm going to bring a chatos shmeina, because a fat chatos, because I was over. So what's the kasha? You see that he was an adam chashuv, and you clearly see that this adam chashuv was over on the Isser. So how can we say that adam chashuv this doesn't apply to? Amar Rav Abba, Shani Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, Shahayil Mesa Matzil Divrei Torah Kehedyot. He was so humble, he made himself like for Divrei Torah, like a hedyot. So he was not considered a chashuv person in his own eyes. So therefore, he would lean the candle. Yeah, fine. Tani chad the shamish by the kaisis who ka'aris lar anerach. Shamish is allowed to, meaning the butler or the waiter is allowed to check the cups and the plates to the araner, meaning he's checking if they're clean. But Hani Yidach Lo Yidach, and we have another price that says he's not allowed to check it to the candle, meaning one price is saying we're chosher, he's going to tilt the candle, the other price is saying he's chosher, that he's not going to tilt the candle. Like Kasha, Kam B'Shamash Kavul, Kam B'Shamash Shein Kavul. One is talking about your regular waiter, and one is talking about your non-regular waiter. So your regular waiter, hold on a second. Yeah, your regular waiter, we're worried about it because he wants to do a good job. The non-regular waiter, he doesn't particularly care, so we're not afraid he's going to tilt the candle. They're both talking about with the regular waiter, but like Kasha, the mishcha, the nafta. One is talking about regular oil, and one is talking about neft is like really bad smelling stuff. So by regular oil, we're afraid he's going to tilt it. But the bad smelling stuff by neft, we're not afraid that he's going to tilt it. Fine. What about a shamish who's not your regular one with oil, which is easy? What's the din? Are we afraid of him tilting it or not? Amarav halacha is that he would be able to, but we don't teach it. We don't teach this halacha because it's dangerous to teach that. The halacha is like that, and we teach it. Rav traveled to the house of Rav Asi, come Shameh, and his shamas got up, kabadik l'nahara the sharga, and he was being by the plates to just people keep calling in. That's what keeps disconnecting. Come Shameh kabadik l'nahara the sharga, and he was being baidik to the light of the candle. Amr leit devisu. So the wife said, Umar lo yavid hachi, and Mar doesn't do this, meaning we don't have the waiter checking the different cups and stuff. So Amrullah Shavke, leave him alone. Karabes really held like his Rebbe, who held that it's halacha ve'ein myron kain. So really he knew that was the halacha. So therefore, it was allowed. Okay, so basically, I guess I wanted to go a little further, but since it's late, we'll stop here. Now, what's with reading to electric lights? Lamaisa, we consider electric lights like fire, right? We treat it like fire. Yeah, no, he should stop vaping. But yeah. Anyways, so what about electric
lights? Ask Mr. Corona to stop coughing, please.
Yeah. So, So what do we do with electric lights? The Chazon Ish held that you're not allowed to read to electric lights either. Even Bizman Hazeh, most poskim, almost all poskim disagree and say electric lights. What's the chashash? There's no. You see, it's interesting. The chashash here is not that you're going to add oil to the. Notice if you're from the Gemara, the chashash is that you're going to tilt it. It always says shemayata. We're afraid you're going to tilt it. There's no chashash that you're going to add more oil to the candle, because that already is that takes time to concentrate. You got to get up, get the new oil, and add it, right? So we're not afraid with electric lights. You can't tilt an electric light and make it give you better light. The only thing
you have dimmer switch. You have dimmer switches. You do have dimmer switches.
Very good. So the price can say, what about a dimmer switch? You could add on. So that the price can still say that's not a problem. That is not a problem.
Good.
So Lamaisa with electric light, there's no problem. But if you have like Shabbos candles in your room and you don't have the lights on, let's say the Shabbos clock goes off and you want to read to the Shabbos candles, that's really not so simple whether you're allowed to do that. But then some say, well, we'll consider like Adam Chashuv since we're not used to doing the candles. When Rav Nosson Tzvi was nifter, I remember there was a story there because in Eretz Yisrael, they don't like to use electric lights on Shabbos because they're afraid that a Yid is providing the electricity. So if you didn't have a generator, so you had to have candles. Problem is, Rav Nosson Tzvi wanted to stay up late at night and to learn, but you're not allowed to learn by a candle by yourself. So his wife stayed up with him to the wee hours of the morning to be the shomer on him, so that he could learn and he wouldn't mess with the candles. Yeah. All right. Have yourselves a good night and stay safe.
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned before about tefillin, erev Shabbos, but you hold anyway that tefillin you can wear on Shabbos. So why are they mentioning it?
No, we don't. We paskin that.
You said there's nothing wrong with tefillin on Shabbos.
What?
You said that there's nothing wrong with tefillin on Shabbos.
No way you can rent an apartment, right?
No, but Lamaisa, we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos. Who says there's nothing wrong with tefillin on Shabbos?
You did. Your son wore tefillin on Shabbos.
That was to try it on, but that wasn't al mitzvah. That was only because he was practicing. That was the whole point. He was only practicing. Even though you're right, it's not so schwer. It's not so schwer to put. It's not as schwer as everybody makes it out to be.
I thought it's muktzah.
Well, it's muktzah because you don't wear it on Shabbos.
Yeah, but the actual tefillin's not really muktzah.
It's only muktzah because you don't wear it on Shabbos.
Right.
It's good, but if a kid wants to practice, with his tefillin on Shabbos, it's not muktzah for him because he wants to practice.
That's
You don't remember this, Dovi? How he stunned the whole table?
Yes, I remember.
Shabbos
That sounds like a
He does that quite often.
What can you do?
Is everybody keeping their kids indoors tomorrow?
What's tomorrow?
I'm saying, is everybody keeping their kids indoors?
I don't know. Ask my wife.
Lakewood just joined the world.
Saying that was that called Cairo.
That's why he's asking, because Lakewood just joined the world.
Why can't they go outside?
You kids have been keeping. What?
They're not allowed outside. They're just not allowed near people.
The point.
That's outside.
In Lakewood, that's outside.
You guys are much more firmer than us.
Joe, there's no nuclear bomb going on.
It's actually recommended that they go outside and get some air.
Yeah.
Just maybe the parents should pay a little more attention to them.
Hey, listen, the kids already got suspended from homeschool.
I saw that 1,000 times in a meme, but when you say it, Perez, it sounds much funnier.
Parrots, I heard the teacher got arrested. Drinking on the job.
Rabbi Stein.
Yes. Did you see the picture of Romero Brandsdorfer?
No.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay.
Send it to me too.
What are you saying?
Rabbi Stein, I got a question. No minion, obviously. If I have access to a shul, is it better for me to daven in the shul?
100%.
That was your
text of that.
That was my text.
Tweeted that today.
But if there's not going to be anybody there, listen, I'm not going to say which shul I went to, but I decided Friday night I davened Ma'ariv after the meal in the shul at around 10:30 at night, and there were a few guys in that shul learning. Okay, that didn't bother me so much. But then I went there in the morning, and there was a whole minyan going. So that was bad.
Yeah.
Well, Rabbi Chill let you in the building?
Okay, we're not going there, buddy. We're trying to get out of this land now.
All right.
Continue it.
All right, you're right.
I have to tell you,
Liner,
I didn't see any alcohol tonight out here.
Wait.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought everybody be drinking heavily. The only thing I see different is that Naftali's wearing clothes and not in bed.
I have to go back to
That's
work.
because his wife probably threw him out of the room already.
Seriously, now that she's home all day, I can't even get my room.
Marcha, Yeshua, there's a hot toddy.
Paper cup, yeah, you know, punting.
No, it's a hot toddy.
I got to sign off. I got somebody over here.
All right, bye.
That's a fancy cup in
Hi,
South Bend.
everybody.